So right over here we have my daughter Tira, and right down here we have a plain belly water snake. And I'm going to try to catch him and see what happens. Alright, so I caught him, and that is a plain belly water snake, which is Nerodia erythrogaster flavogaster. Well, the flavogaster is because he is the yellow bellied version of a plain bellied water snake. There are also red bellied versions that we don't have in this area. Can you zoom in and get close to his head? Closer. If you look at his head, if you can see how triangular that is a great indication that you cannot go by that old saying about triangular heads, because most snakes will really flatten out their head, especially when they're in a defense posture like this. You can see he doesn't like us. He has musk all over me, and it smells god-awful. Water snakes are some of the worst smelling musk in any snakes ever. Can you see his head pretty well? If you look at his lips, you can see he has vertical barring on his lips. A lot of people confuse these with water snakes because they're always around water. I'm sorry, with cottonmouths, not water snakes.
He is a water snake.
This is a water snake. A lot of people confuse these with venomous cottonmouths. This is a pretty average size. They can get a little bigger than this. I don't know, they can probably get up close to 4 feet, 3 to 4 feet. It's probably a big adult. Fish and amphibians, that's what they eat. Pretty much exclusively fish and amphibians, which is, what tends to be in the habitat where they live. We're around kind of a swampy area, but you'll see these are a lot around rivers and creeks also. What else we got on this guy? Anything?
He has very keeled scales, doesn't he?
Yeah, they do have keeled scales, which is something they have in common with cottonmouths. You can get a good look at his face there, maybe.
Somewhat.
But these are
Focus.
harmless snakes, other than some bites, but not dangerous at all. The dangerous end is the end I'm holding back here, where the musk comes from.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's him, the yellow-bellied water snake, or plain-bellied water snake, and we're gonna let him go back where we found him. Hey guys, out here doing what I do, which is wander around in the woods looking for snakes and photography opportunities, and found the leavings of a snake. There's a snake shed skin. A lot of times online I see people posting pictures of these, of the snake skin, and asking, is there any way to tell what kind of snake it is? I'm scared for my kids and dog and neighbors and the horses and the state of the union, because there might be a venomous snake near my yard. I can tell by looking at this one, I can see a little bit of pattern on it that it was a rat snake, a gray rat snake. But I'm going to show you a tip for if you live in an area that does not have coral snakes. You can look at the bottom of the bottom side of the scale, which obviously the bottom side of the snake, which is the side with the big wide scales that cover their belly scales. All of our snakes in North America, except for the coral snake, all of our non-venomous snakes in North America, except for the coral snake, when you get to the tail portion, which is the point past the cloaca, which is the all-purpose entry and exit point on most snakes, or all snakes and birds, you see it goes a single wide scale all the way across the belly, until we get right here, which is the cloacal opening, and then it's 2 scales. So by that we're able to tell this was a non-venomous snake. Like I said, unless you live in areas that have coral snakes. The elapids do have a single scale or a double scaled the rest of the way, whereas our pit vipers, which is all the other venomous snakes in North America, will past the cloaca will still have 1 scale all the way across. But again, you can see it goes from 1 scale, here's the cloaca, and then 2 scales. So that's just a tip. Now you too can identify venomous versus non-venomous snake sheds, unless you live where there are coral snakes. The coral snake shed is going to be a lot smaller than this and thinner, but we won't get into that. Alright guys, there is a water snake chasing us. Unfortunately, he has detected our presence and decided to stop chasing us and run away from us. Now that's a plain-bellied water snake, Neurodia erythrogaster flabbergaster, because it's a yellow-bellied water snake. That's a pretty big one. It's 3.5, 4 feet long probably. Yeah, maybe 3.5. But you can see he's just cruising the edge of the banks, looking for something to eat. Wants nothing to do with us. Here he comes back across. If we don't move too much, he might come over on the bank. But he's actively hunting probably frogs. There's a lot of frogs out here, but they also eat fish. Harmless water snakes, very often mistaken for cottonmouths. Here he comes right by us. He's just hunting along the edge of the shoreline where frogs hang out. Most of the time when I've seen them fishing, they're more still. They'll kind of sit with their head, half in the water, and they'll kind of watch for fish to come by. But this one doesn't know we're here because I'm able to happen to see him come across the water toward us. Another thing most people don't realize is snakes are deaf, essentially. They pick up ground vibrations. They don't have normal ears, but they can pick up vibrations using their jawbone against the ground, basically. There's some some studies suggest they can hear some airborne sounds, but for the most part they're deaf. So when a snake is coming toward you and you're screaming at it and you think it's trying to get you, it doesn't even hear you. It's just fleeing, trying to get away to where its hiding spot is. See if we can keep up with it. And there he goes back to the other side. He hopes there's some frogs over there. And he's going to cruise that bank. Very cool. Harmless water snake. So right down there on the edge of the water is everybody's nightmare black cottonmouth. You can tell because he's right on the edge of the water, right? But no, of course this is a black racer. I've had, I think, a couple of them in videos recently, but here's another one. Been out here today looking for snakes all morning, and about all I've seen is water snakes. The weatherman lied to me a little bit. I thought it was going to be overcast all day, and I kind of got a late start because I thought it was going to be cool this morning and not get too hot, but it basically been clear since early and pretty warm all day. So most of what I've seen a few water snakes go in the water, and these guys, which I mentioned in the last video, are very tolerant of the heat, so you're more likely to see them in the middle of the day like this on sunny days. Of course, we're in the shade. Really could see any snake right now, but I'm least surprised to see him. It's a small adult. Looks like 3 feet or so. He knows I'm here. He is looking straight at me and hoping I don't see him. So this is what these snakes do, or any non-venomous snake. Their first defense is hope you don't see them, camouflage, and they just lay there. I think a lot of people are afraid of being bitten by any snake. I think there's kind of a misconception of how snakes act. A lot of times the videos you see is a snake that's already been caught, or somebody intentionally restraining one, I guess. Or a lot of the snakes you remember are snakes that somebody in your family was trying to kill. And once you get them cornered, they'll get pretty defensive. Any of them will try to bite you, but for non-venomous snakes, biting is their last resort, because it's really completely ineffective against any of the predators that they're worried about. Most of them will lay there just like this, and you can walk right past them as long as they never think that you see them. They'll just continue to lay there. Racers are a little bit different. Most of the time they'll try to remain still until you get close, but they rely on speed. They're much faster than most snakes, and when you get close, rather than just be still, they'll their best bet is to take off, because they actually have a chance to get away. Most snakes are really not that fast, and running or slithering away quickly is really not a good defense for most of them, because they can't really escape most predators. But like I said, if you corner them, even these, especially these, if you corner them, they will bite. These are especially prone to biting. They're just a lot harder to corner. If you catch one, or get it backed into a place where it feels like it can't escape, it'll strike at you, but it just wants to be, it's just trying to scare you away. It's really difficult to be bitten by a non-venomous snake, especially. You have to be pretty unlucky to be bitten by a venomous snake, but you know, one of their first defenses they also rely on camouflage and being still, but they would, their venom is one of their defenses, so they're more prone to using it. Whereas non-venomous snakes, you can step all around them, and unless you have them cornered, they're really not going to bite you. Well, I'm going to show you what a black racer will do. Of course you hear stories about these chasing people and whatnot, but I'm going to show you how they act. He's still hoping we don't see him. He's probably getting a little nervous because we're standing right here by him and have stopped. So, but we're about, 8 feet from him. And I'm going to start toward him. Let's see what he does. And we kind of have him cornered against the water. He's going to go left or right, probably. But he probably does feel a little cornered right here. I'd like to catch him, but so if we were going toward him quickly, he would be gone right now. But because we're trying to ease up on him, he doesn't know what to do. He hasn't decided if he should bolt yet. We're, 3 feet from him. Now watch, let's see. This is how likely you are to be bitten by one of these. And gone. And there he goes. So you saw I stepped almost right on him, and his defense was to run, flee. If I had been a rat snake, if I had just walked by it, it would have just laid there. As long as it thought there was a chance I didn't see it, it would have just laid there. You pretty much have to really provoke a non-venomous snake to be bitten. Either by messing with it, trying to catch it, or backing it into a corner, or step on it or something like that. They're just not going to bite you. It's not a good defense in evolutionary terms for a snake that can't hurt you to try to. Its best bet is to remain unseen or try its very best not to provoke you and get away. But anyway, that's the black racer Conluber constrictor. And we're back. We're about, right there's where the black racer went. Right here, we went from not seeing anything to suddenly there's snakes everywhere. No, that's a ribbon snake. These guys keep turning up in my videos lately, but it's the Eastern ribbon snake, Thamnophis, sirtalis. I've talked about them at length. That's a fairly big one right there. But they eat frogs and fish mainly. Tend to hang out around water where there's some sun, grassy, weedy areas. Harmless snakes. Like I said, I've spoken about them in the last couple of videos, I think. So, like the racer, I'm not gonna talk about him too much, but anyway, they're cool snakes. Very similar to a garter snake, but more slender, long and slender. And we're gonna let him go about his way.